Start this Family Design Board for Monday, October 25th. If we start with a roll call, will that work, Kathy? I just learned that from Bill Mahan. That's the only reason why I say this.
Paul Booth.
Here.
Glenn Heisler.
Here.
Vernon Bernstein is absent today. Aaron Carroll.
Here.
Ryan Miller.
Here.
Denise Willery. Here. And Jim Evans, and he will probably be in later.
Okay. Wonderful. Moving on to public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address the board on an item that's not on today's agenda? Seeing nobody, I will close public comment and go back to item B, which is the approval of the minutes for October 20th. Do we have a first and a second and then a discussion on that?
I'll make that motion.
First by Glenn, second by Aaron. Okay, any comments? Anything before item 1? Item 1. Item 2. Item 3. Item 4. So there's no comments. I actually reviewed them online and thought they were fine. Congratulations. Or thank you very much, Kathy. So with that, I'll call for a vote if there's no other discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the consent calendar.
Yes, Mr. Chair, we have a consent calendar for Monday, October 18th. Can we get a vote, please?
Oh, consent calendar for October 18th. Is there a first and a second for that? First by Denise, second by Mr. Miller.
Thank you.
October
Item consent on Monday, October 18th. Item A, 2010 Garden Street, final approval with conditions. Item B, 606 Sutton Avenue, final approval as submitted. Item C, 1234 Bahada Drive, final approval with conditions. And item D, 815 C. Melinda Lane, was postponed 1 week at the applicant's request. Items were reviewed by Paul Zink and Denise Willery.
Great. Any other discussion? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. On to October 25th. Is there a first and a second? First by Aaron, second by Denise.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yes, consent calendar for today, Monday, October 25th. Item A, 206 Los Alamos Avenue, was granted a 1-year time extension. Item B, 1303 Delagara Road, was granted preliminary approval and continued indefinitely to consent. And item C, 815 C. Melinda Lane, granted preliminary approval and continued 1 week to consent. Items reviewed by Paul Zink and Denise Willery.
All right. Any other discussion on that? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to item D, which is announcements.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I do have a couple announcements regarding today's agenda. Items 1 and 2 have been postponed 2 weeks at the applicant's request, which was item 1 and 2 were both 230 Lighthouse Drive, and they will be postponed from today's agenda 2 weeks to the Monday, November 8th agenda. And as such, we've had to revise today's agenda a bit, so I'm just going to run through these items. Item 1 is now 1220 Shoreline Drive, the tentative time of 3:10. Item 2 will be 2501 Medcliff Road, the tentative time of 3:30. Item 3 is 623 Surfview Drive at 4 o'clock. Item 4 will be 1308 San Rafael Avenue at 4:30. Item 5 will be 227 La Vista Grande at 4:50. Item 6 would be 505 Baldwin Road at tentative time of 5:20. And item 7, the final item on today's agenda, will be 1351 Santa Rita Circle at a tentative time of 5:50. And with the postponement of the first 2 items, we will be canceling our dinner break this evening with the last item beginning at 5:50.
Okay. Any other discussion from board members about the revised agenda? If not, are there any other announcements or? No? Okay. So with that, subcommittee reports. I don't believe we have any subcommittee reports active at this time. So we will move on to item 1, which is up today's agenda as revised. It is going to be 1220 Shoreline Drive. This is an in-progress review. I have your name for the record, and then we'll read through the minutes of the previous meeting.
I'm Jim Zimmerman, architect for Mr. and Mrs. Kurzweil.
All righty.
Mr. Chair, these are the comments from the previous meeting. There was preliminary approval on this project. The minutes are the comments were to provide all architectural details, including windows, doors, roof intersections, railings on the drawings. Number 2, provide a cut sheet and information regarding exterior light fixtures. Number 3, provide landscape plan showing compliance with required stormwater management program. Number 4, provide a color board including a picture and scale of the existing weather vane. Number 5, the project provides quality architecture, bulk mass scale, and that's compatible with the neighborhood.
All right, you're up.
We have, there's nothing has changed since the preliminary approval. We have provided, this is the existing floor plan. And existing elevations and the new floor plan. For a proposed site plan, excuse me. All the drawings don't seem to be here.
Wrong ones.
Yeah, no, it's a complete set of drawings. Well,
Do you want a 1 week or 2 week continuance?
yeah. I had like 6 sheets. That weren't
Do you
printed.
want to, we can table this and we can have you go to the print shop or call them in and we'll put you at the end of the agenda?
Okay, I could call right. Yeah, I can call right now and have them get them over here.
Yeah. They're already prepared, right? All the drawings?
Yeah,
It's
they're all
just
prepared,
a
yeah.
misprint. So, can I
Thank you.
time out for a second? Can I get a motion? Is that fine for the board? Someone make a motion for a temporary, forgot the word now, table-less motion.
Yes.
Yes, and a second is Mr. Miller. All in favor? Aye. All right.
Thank you.
So with that, item 2, 1 second. Yeah, it's supposed to start at 3:20, which is in about 5 minutes. So we're going to take a 5-minute break till the applicant shows up. So we get a 5-minute break. I didn't hear you. Staff, the applicant is actually ready, so we can. So I'm going to reopen the Single Family Design Review Board for October 25th. We are on item 2 of our revised agenda, which is 2501 Medcliff Road. So introduce yourself, and we'll get your drawings, and what do you got for us?
Good afternoon. My name is Robert Ruiz, and I'm here on behalf of the Albert Zeck Trust. And this is a project that was previously before you. It's for Medcliff Road subdivision, 2 parcels into 4. It was previously reviewed by your board on April 26th and again on May 10th. There were some comments made on April 26th. When we came back on the May 10th date, we addressed all of those comments. On the May 10th hearing, the discussion revolved around, I think there was 2 members of the board who had questions about the parcel configuration and size.
Why don't we read the previous minutes to get us
Okay.
up to speed?
Okay. So, Mr. Chair, these are the comments from, I think, May 10th.
Is that the latest? May 10th?
It is.
Okay.
The first comment, and there's some longer comments, so I'll just read them all. There's a concern that the project does not comply with the following SFDB design guidelines sections. A, consistency with single-family residential design guidelines, environmental setting and landscaping, site planning and structure placement, and neighborhood compatibility. There's a concern about the compatibility with size, character, and landscaping of the neighborhood. B, layout of lots and suitability of the development for proposed building pads and building envelopes. The Planning Commission is requesting to study the building envelopes on the lots for the purpose of establishing the finding of compatibility with existing neighborhood. Layout of lots and building envelopes should generate compatibility with the neighborhood. C, compatibility of design with surrounding neighborhoods in terms of lot sizes and building heights, building sizes, and building massing. The subdivision should enhance the neighborhood rather than be detrimental to it. There is concern that the proposed lot sizes are larger than those of the surrounding neighborhood, which could lead to larger houses that may not be compatible with the neighborhood. D, pedestrian connectivity to adjacent neighborhoods and community uses. With regard to a sidewalk, the rural character of the street leading to the Douglas Preserve should be handled with sensitivity. Number 2, study an alternative, cleaner street tree without the messy fruit. If cotoneaster is required, use the low fast variety instead of the cotoneaster. It's a hard one. Appliculatus? Yeah. Number 3, provide an alternative to the invasive primrose. Number 4, relocate the filtration beds locations outside of oak tree drip lines. And those are the comments.
So these are the comments before the Planning Commission, and you since have gone to Planning Commission.
That's correct.
So bring us up to speed on what's gone since then, since we've last seen it.
So when we went to Planning Commission, the Planning Commission did take up each of those items that were brought up just now, and specifically the compatibility of the project with the surrounding neighborhood, and they did find that it was compatible with the surrounding neighborhood, that there are some parcels actually next to this property that are similar in size with shared driveways. In terms of home sizes and restrictions to that, the Planning Commission recognized that 3 of the 4 parcels are already developed with homes. Of the 1 parcel that is undeveloped, which is parcel D, the applicant, we've agreed to greater setbacks than what is required by zoning. Typically, what would be required is 6 feet from the driveway, and we've agreed to 20 feet from the driveway. And they seem to be happy with that. Or they were happy with that.
Okay. Can we go through and read the comments from Planning Commission? Have you found them in here?
There's 17 pages of it.
Oh,
The conditions?
yeah. There should be a section that's called out for design review, and those are the only ones that we really need to focus on. But if you want anything else you want to go over until he finds that?
Talked about the neighborhood compatibility, the lot sizes. no need for any restriction on home sizes. There was a comment at the last single-family design board meeting, May 10th, that had to do with the access way at the frontage, because currently there's no pedestrian walkway there. So the city's master pedestrian plan calls for sidewalk to be constructed, and the Planning Commission took that up. There was a discussion as to the type of the surface. We've since gone back and forth with Public Works, and Public Works' direction is that concrete sidewalk be constructed, and that's what our construction plans show.
Okay.
In addition to that, the reason that came up is because they're looking at this. There was a comment made that they don't want to totally urbanize this area. So what we've decided to do as the applicant is for the first, I believe it's of the driveway coming off of Medford, we've decided or are proposing to install interlocking pavers to soften up the driveway. So it's approximately about 25 feet from Medcliff Road into the property. Right in here. We're proposing interlocking pavers just to kind of soften the transition.
Okay.
And what we're proposing is this type of material. So we've had
It's
it
a
look
blend, correct?
It is a blend.
All right.
It is a blend. So we've had discussions with Public Works and also with Project Soul's engineer, and we're both in agreement that it will serve a purpose and hold up structurally.
Okay. Two things. Does staff have anything to say for us? Okay. Did you find the design review comments section?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I did find the comments. It still does, it's at least 2.5 or 3 pages. I can try to boil it down, I guess. Under design review, called about future development. No structure shall be constructed within 20 feet of the edge of private shared access driveway.
And that you agreed upon.
That's
okay.
right.
Shall be reduced.
Time out 1 second. What plan would show that 20-foot line?
It's
Just so
on
we
the
what number?
Tentative map, and I believe it is...
Oh, maybe that's first sheet. Yep.
Well, the setback is going to be shown on the final map, the map that records. These are the construction drawings here, but
there-
they're shown on the tentative map, which...
We can leave that outstanding and just have you
Yeah.
provide that for staff later. Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, the second part of future development is the development envelope on parcel D shall be reduced so that no construction shall occur within 20 foot of the private driveway easement or within 20 feet of the easterly property line.
I remember seeing, because you actually put something over here previously, but
It's actually right here, so I've got a copy of it here.
sheet 405.
So this shows the 20-foot setback from the driveway, and then it shows 20 feet
On the
setback
east.
on the east side of parcel D.
Okay.
Okay, so, Mr. Chair, the second item on the Planning Commission resolution is guest parking. At least one uncovered guest parking space shall be provided on parcel D in addition to any parking spaces required by the zoning ordinance. Its size, location shall be determined by the traffic manager and approved by the Community Development Department.
Okay, that'll be happen when the house is developed. They'll
That's correct.
locate where that extra parking space is.
That's
okay?
correct.
Okay. Number 3, the tree removal and replacement. All trees except fruit trees and street trees approved for removal without replacement by the Parks Department shall be replaced on-site on a 1-to-1 basis with a minimum 15-gallon size tree of an appropriate species or like species.
So let's go over the landscape plan. Are you removing any oak trees, and is there a replacement for those?
We are removing 2 oak trees, and there are replacements for those, and the landscape plan shows where the location of those are.
Which sheet's your landscape plan?
Plan is, I think, too many sheets.
Do you guys have a landscape plan? Are you looking for one? We got a gremlin in the plan box.
Yeah. Okay.
I can go upstairs and get my planning commission set.
It would have been in there. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, at least.
Yeah.
Okay, landscape and oak trees. Let's move on, Glenn.
So there's another category, oak tree mitigation. 6 15-gallon oak trees shall be planted on site where they will not conflict with possible future development or of parcel D or any other parcel. Number 5, oak tree protection, and there's a whole criteria of
And that'll
oak tree
be on the plan.
protection.
Staff will evaluate.
Number 6, screen backflow device, a backflow device for private.
And staff will
Water
verify
main?
that at plan check.
Number 7, incorporate a permeable paving system for the project drive that will allow a portion of the paved area runoff to percolate into the ground, except as necessary to meet fire department weight requirements. Materials in the drive and parking areas must be approved by the transportation manager.
Okay, and that was the section that you were showing up there in
Right.
front.
Number 8, sidewalk and right-of-way. Applicant to work with the Single-Family Design Board and the Public Works Department to create as natural a sidewalk in front of the Medcliff Road properties as possible while complying with city standards.
Do you want to add anything else about that, or just keep moving?
We can just keep moving. We are proposing to construct a sidewalk.
So, Mr. Chair, that concludes the design review component of
Okay.
the Planning Commission resolution.
Can you please explain the sidewalk design that you have there, just because we were wanting to talk about it?
Sure. The sidewalk, the Santa Barbara City Master Pedestrian Plan calls for frontage improvements to include a 4-foot wide parkway behind the curb and then a 6-foot wide sidewalk, which is what we've shown the length of the frontage on Medcliff.
And are you doing anything artistically, like weaving it, changing the color, doing planting special?
We are not, and again, that was at the direction of Public Works. The only thing we're doing is providing the pavers at the driveway, and again, that's to soften the driveway entrance and to break it up.
Okay. You want to go over color board? Anything else you want to go over?
Sure. As part of this project, Parcel B requires that the construction of a carport occur to provide covered parking for that parcel. So as part of your package, you should have the carport design plans, and this cover alert board was included in your packet. This is a photo of the house that carport's going to serve. So the thought is that the framing members for the carport be painted similar to that, as well as the roofing to match what's already existing.
So let's just quickly go find that one sheet just so we can have it in front of the TV camera.
That sheet I did see. There it is.
Okay. And we've probably seen it before. Are you 6x6 posts? Are you...
4x6 key. 4x6.
Do you know the size of the actual... It's a 6x14 beam and 6x6 post. Okay.
Yeah.
So it's heavy timber. Alrighty. Anything else you want to do for your presentation?
I think that's it. I'm more than happy to answer any questions.
Well, we'll get there. Does staff have anything else? Okay. I will open up public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this project? Seeing nobody, I'll return it back to the board for questions of the applicant. The first question I want to ask is, you've made a decision to do a certain portion pavers versus the entire road as pavers. Can you explain how you came up with that, or what the thinking was?
The thinking, again, was that was derived from the whole thought at the prior hearing of trying to soften up the frontage of the property, not make it a sea of concrete. And we just wanted to make it a softer transition from the sidewalk and the street to the driveway, which is going to be asphalt as well.
Okay. Okay, does any other board members have questions?
Yeah, I have a question. I'm sure this is a good answer, but I have to ask it. And it probably has something to do with fire truck regulations, but why does this house have its independent driveway and it doesn't intersect into this existing driveway?
You're correct in saying that it has to do with fire requirements. There's a city standard that identifies a private driveway versus a private road.
Yes.
And that has to do with number of parcels that take access of it. So in this case, there's 4 parcels that take access off of this driveway, which is parcel A and D, and then 2 parcels directly east of A that are not part of the subdivision. So there's the 4 parcels. Had parcel B also been included in using that road, this road would have had to have had curbs, gutters, and sidewalks as well. So it would have needed to be fully
widened
improved to a full city standard road, which includes all of those items.
I have another stupid question. Couldn't they, just in my thinking, and I apologize, but I have to say, what if they had just widened the part with the curbs on this part until it hit this road and then it became narrow again so you didn't have doubling up of driveways?
Yeah, I think we weren't.
Well, staff might have an answer.
That would be nice if I did, but no. When we first were discussing this, Kelly brought us an assistant planner and to address Chair Zink. When we first were discussing this, the applicant did simply want to have one driveway, but as he explained, 5 lots would require a road. And I can't remember the exact reason of why, but I know you did look at that. Can you help me remember why?
We did.
I would say it's kind of a moot point because this project has been approved through the Planning Commission, so they're good questions for us to ask and learn from, but this project won't be changing in that layout.
I can look into it and get back to you.
Because what it seems to me, I know you followed the regulation, but you're actually covering more area with non-permeable surface to accommodate that regulation as opposed to having it just, I mean, you have 3 cuts, you could have cut down to 2. I don't know, it just seems...
And thinking about this now, I think it had to do with engineering and the fire department don't allow that because
There's a certain amount of houses that can be served by one driveway, and then there's a certain for fire purposes there's a certain amount of lots. So and then one of the lots has 2 houses on it. So that's why that nixed that
Interesting.
proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Does anyone have questions? Aaron?
Yeah. Did you discuss the street tree choice with the city arborist?
again.
I noticed this.
Chair Zink, I did talk to the Streets Tree Advisory Chair and also to Tim Downey, and I explained to them that you stated what you said about the tree, that it was kind of messy and made a lot of trash on the street, and they said that it is the assigned street tree on this, and in order to change it, someone would have to do a formal request to the Parks Department, and they'd have to go through the whole process to change the standard approved street tree there on Mudcliff. So, and the applicant's kind of stuck between wanting to do what you guys want to do and then also being, he has to do what the city's street tree requirement is.
Okay.
So you could do that if you wanted to.
A question I had is the question about moving the filter beds out of the drip line of the oak trees. Has that been done?
Chairman Zink, yes, it has been done, and there's the improvement plans, I think, should show that, or they do show that.
Let's find out.
Yeah.
Just can you show me just so that we know? And I'll scribble that out as well. Let's demo plan.
Here we go. So sheet C1 shows the infiltration beds, and they're out of the drip lines.
Okay. All right. Any other questions of the applicant? I actually have two more questions, and I apologize. One of them having to do about view corridors. Are you choosing, at the Planning Commission, they made either a request or a comment, one planning commissioner, about maybe perhaps putting view corridors on these properties to alleviate concerns when the properties are being developed? Is that something you're choosing not to follow through on? Or?
At this point in time, in accordance with city attorney's comment at the hearing, he suggested that we not do that at this time, that's a private matter between the future buyer and the current owner. That's a disclosure item, so no, we're choosing not to do that at this time.
Great. And going back to the sidewalk, just the sidewalk you have here is the standard city sidewalk. It's 6 feet from the curb, and it's 4 feet from the curb, and it's 6 feet wide, and it's what the transportation department requested.
Yes.
And did you ask them if there could be any creative solution to be more organic in that area?
Yes, we actually suggested doing some decomposed granite or some stamped concrete or colored concrete, and the response is that the standard is concrete.
Is staff will concur with that? Yes. All right. Okay. And then can staff also, on the Planning Commission requirements, it's item 7, it says permeable paving, incorporate a permeable paving system for the project driveway that will allow a portion of the paved area. Are you satisfied that the portion that they're providing meets that requirement?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Also because the applicant is installing the infiltration basins on each of them.
See, that's the whole thing, yeah. So the water's going to get into the... Okay. Cool. Any other comments, questions? If not, no more questions. We'll move to comments from the board members.
Mr. Chair, before we move into comments, I just wanted to acknowledge for the record a letter of concern from Ms. Paula Westbury.
Thank you. I forgot about that. Comments? The applicant is requesting preliminary and final approval.
I'd say he's done the gamut.
I have a question for Aaron and Denise. Do you guys have a landscape plan in front of you, and are you comfortable giving it final approval? And does it note how many oak trees are being removed and 6 15-gallon being as replacement? Just want to make sure that we have a landscape plan in front of us that covers that.
We've got 6 15-gallon oaks. The number of street trees is not numbered for some reason, but it's 7.
Okay, so we can add that. My question really is, are the plans complete enough for a final approval?
I think there needs to be some sort of irrigation notes or plan, but other than that, I think we might have a comment about one plant. But
No, you can have comments. So, okay. Comments from anybody else?
I was wondering if there's...
I'm sorry.
Is there any exterior lighting being proposed?
All the homes are there. Our 3 of the parcels have current homes, so nothing's going to change on those. There's a condition of approval that 2 of the lights on Medcliff Road, the street lights, are substandard, I believe, and there's a condition that we upgrade those to current standards, so we will be doing that.
Is there any lighting proposed on the carport?
There is. It's just hung
Under
yeah,
the roof?
yeah.
Okay.
All right. Jim?
So the driveway is all just AC paving, the rest of the driveway? Is it possible maybe to go to something with a little more texture, like maybe a road base, where you don't have the black asphalt, where you could...
Let's see what his response.
Chairman Zink, members of the board, we looked at that item and doing some kind of chip seal or road base or something, and the fire department is concerned about the structure of it, the long-term structure of it.
Okay. Landscapers, any kind of comments? How about the landscape plan you guys have there? As well as the sidewalk layout.
I'll comment on the sidewalk layout. I originally thought there wasn't sidewalks on the street, and there is, and they're all just natural concrete, and it's just matching the street, and I think that's fine.
Okay. Anything else?
My only concern is that with one of the plants, the Ceanothus hirciotum, it has an 8-foot spread, and you've got a 4-foot wide planter, and I'm just concerned that it'll be hacked to death and look really awful after some time. But of course, it all depends on the maintenance. Who's going to maintain that? But it could work, but it's a little big for that strip.
Well, okay. So we're at a point to give this project a preliminary approval and perhaps final approval. And this is for a subdivision plan, and we need to make the findings, which we basically made at the previous meeting because we allowed it to go on to the Planning Commission. So we as a board are fine with the layout and the driveway layouts. But is someone in a position to make a motion? Do you want?
Landscape comments, so I can.
You want me to float a motion?
I could try floating one.
All right.
Final approval with the following conditions. That they change the Ceanothus hirciotum to Cotoneaster? Or should we have to see it on consent? Otherwise we'll have to give it preliminary and final on consent. You want to see that on consent?
For one bush, let's pick something for him.
Yeah.
That's the only thing on there. How about Carex Panza? Diamondia? Okay, go ahead. Those are all good.
Yeah, we're thinking more of something that would fit better. Might be Festuca amethystina. It's called. It's a type of grass, clumping grass that makes it real nice.
We'll just say blue
Sounds
fescue.
wonderful to me.
It works for us. Thank you.
Turned on.
Can you say that one
So
more time?
we'll
with
change
the
the.
mic on?
I'm suggesting like Festuca amethystina. It's called.
Okay.
And it's a kind of a blue-gray grass that will look really nice in there, and fitted. You'll need several to fit in there instead, but it'll be a lot more manageable than the hirciotum.
Okay.
And the other condition is to provide irrigation notes and compliance statement
Okay.
on the landscape plan.
Is there a person who will second that motion? Second by Jim. Did you have a comment real fast?
Chairman Zink, I did. The plans do call out for irrigation, the landscape
Can
strip.
you
I
just-
need to point that out to you.
If you can point it out to us, then we can make that note disappear, that comment disappear. While he's doing that, I just want to say that the person who made the motion, Aaron, this is going to be for preliminary and it's final, and it's for the subdivision grading plan, making the findings that we have in our single-family design guidelines.
Neighborhood compatibility, sidewalk, landscaping,
Preservation of the trees
preservation and replacement of trees,
and the quality of the building materials.
quality of materials.
Is that okay with the seconder? Jim?
Yes.
Irrigation notes?
Chairman Zink, I don't see the current landscape plan in this packet, but the improvement plans just shows that we are providing sleeves, and the notes about landscape irrigation are shown on that in that landscape plan. But on the construction drawings here, we show sleeves allowing for the installation of landscape.
What he's looking for is these improvements that are placed along here have some kind of irrigation, and then the irrigation is on some weather controller, internet control base weather station.
He has some of it covered here in general notes on the landscape plan.
I don't think that's the current.
I don't think it's, oh, it's not the,
Yeah.
this isn't the right plan.
No.
So let's leave the comment the way it is, that they need to add this information, and staff will make sure when you go through plan check that those items are covered. Is there any other discussion for this item? Does staff have anything for us?
He just said there wasn't the right landscape plan.
I'm sorry. The only difference is the irrigation.
Okay.
That's the only difference.
That's why I wanted to ask the question, is there enough there to give this project preliminary or final, based upon what you're looking at?
Yeah.
There is. Okay. So with that, a call for a vote. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. And there is a 10-day appeal period for this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
All right. That, whatever we had over the TV
That's
camera, we
yours.
need to save.
That's yours, actually. Yeah, both of those are yours. Thank you again.
Okay. We are now on item 3 of our revised schedule. It is going to be 623 Surf View Drive. It's supposed to start at 4 o'clock, which is 10 minutes early. Is that applicant here? Oh, wow. Okay. We'll move along.
5 o'clock to get this all done? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. If you don't mind, let us read the minutes of the previous meeting, and then we'll have your presentation. That's right, it's a corner lot.
So, Mr. Chair, these are the comments from the previous meeting.
Okay.
Provide an alternative design addressing curb appeal, street presence, height, and massing. Number 2, provide photos of the neighborhood and show how the second story can be compatible with a nice design. Number 3, correct the drawings to be consistent. Number 4, a modification for enhancement of the front facade would be supportable.
All right. How do you want to start?
First of all, we, at the recommendation of Brian last week, or last time we were here, was to make the line weights and definitions of the setbacks and things of that nature that weren't pertaining to the structure directly a little bit more definitive, so we did that. And we also cross-hatched the existing house in relationship to the proposed structure.
Okay.
So then I talked with the client.
Before we go over the design, let's quickly flip through the photographs. Are these new from what we saw last time?
No, these are the same ones we brought last time.
Did you bring any new additional photos?
I didn't say I needed any additional
Okay.
photos. The only thing I brought in was there was a gentleman who sent in a letter about there were no 2 stories in the area. And in the Surf View, Island View circle, there are two stories as you enter that circle. And in a 1,200-foot circle, there are 18 others without counting anything that's on Fellowship, Kenwood, and anything else. I just sort of stayed on that side of Meigs and that. But there's lots of 2 stories within the area and 2 right as you enter the development.
Okay.
So it's not that it's setting a precedent.
Okay.
I had a long conversation with the client about the 12-foot downstairs, and they agreed to drop it to 8 feet, which is going to take 4 feet off the structure. So it's going to be now 21 feet tall instead of 24.
Okay.
I realize that 4 from 24 is 21, but because of the design of the inside of the house, the floor joists will have to rest on a 4x12 Paralam, Glulam, or something of that nature, which will raise the whole floor up by that distance, instead of tearing out that whole interior wall.
Okay.
So then we took the whole second story and slid it forward on the...
These are the existing houses. Let's
That's
go to the
existing,
proposed.
yes.
That's what I'm looking for. Oops, sorry.
And we took the second story and slid it forward to the 30-foot setback line, which took some of the mass away from this chimney effect that the house had, that big box in the middle that we agreed looked like a big box. So that took some of that element away. When we matched the downstairs bay window to the upstairs bay window, so they are now symmetrical.
Is this
size,
the
shape, and
existing bay window?
configuration. There's some kind of a shiplap, and it extends about 12 or so inches.
Okay.
It's pretty difficult to see it in the drawing or the pictures because it's behind bushes and things of that nature.
Okay.
So that sort of maintains some sort of a continuity there. And then as we pulled the second story forward, we also moved it 2 feet from the outside line of the house, which gave a little bit more detail on the driveway side so that the
Which is right here. This is the
it's here,
driveway
so
side.
that it wouldn't make the existing house line again look so tall.
Okay.
And we removed the balcony on the second story because I didn't think it was compatible with a California Western house that belongs in a Spanish house or something like that. So we removed it completely and just put a window in it. Then we took all of the, at the recommendation of the board last time, the overhangs were excessive. So we made all the overhangs the same as the existing house. And then by doing so, we were able to tie all of the rafter tails together and make it all one continuous line, which I believe has a much better appeal and takes away some of the mass of the height of the structure.
And this is the floor plan.
And this is
Okay.
this is the new floor plan. Why it came out like this, I don't know.
This is the half tone. This is the second floor stairs.
And this is the second story.
So you have 2 bay windows, one.
Yeah, this is a garden window.
Okay.
It's not going to be they want something in the bathroom for light and
This.
planting and things like that.
This is the existing floor right here,
Correct.
and this is what's being proposed.
This is being proposed. This is the existing house on this side, and this would be coming into
And you're connecting it to the detached
and
garage.
detached building. We have to connect it by 8 feet to code.
Okay, yeah, no.
So that's one of the reasons this comes into the yard as far as it does.
Okay. And structural we're not too concerned with.
And
Okay.
Title 24 and those type of things.
Good. Anything else you want to say for the presentation?
That's about all I can say that we did. Oh, we took away the boxes, the little boxes that they wanted, and opened up the walls more so that the house has more of an open feel rather than the little boxy rooms that they had
That's the
before.
inside? Okay.
But that's inside.
Yeah.
But they agreed to do that also.
Thank you. Well, I'll open up public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this project? Seeing nobody. Do we have any letters? Staff?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have a letter to acknowledge from Mrs. Paula Westbury
Okay.
in opposition.
Return it back to the board for questions of the applicant. Mr. Miller, with your mic on.
Thank you. I think it looks great. I think you did a
Better.
great job.
Not
Yeah.
great maybe, but better.
Yeah, you're going definitely in the right direction. Couple questions on the south elevation. The roof line over, is that the back door? Let me go again.
There's an existing back door in the house,
Yeah.
and we're not
Well,
going
where
to
you have
be
the
touching it.
double sliding glass door, you have the ridge line. It looks like a little roof element comes across as well over the second story. It's
Yes, I thought it would look better instead of having that end
Yeah.
to tie it and make the whole thing have this small roof that would stick out, and it would give it a bit of a
Right, so you have a little...
some continuity from the rafter tails to the new structure to the garage, and make it look continuous.
Because it kind of tells me on this drawing that it's just a fascia board, but what you're saying...
Yeah, I should have, I missed
there is
one
a
of the
roof.
lines.
Okay,
Yes, you're
okay.
right. I can see that from here.
And the other question I have, what is this material on the east elevation surrounding these two double windows? You have these vertical lines surrounding them. I'm assuming that's something that existed?
It's all, it's what existing, it's just the standard configuration of the vinyl dual glazed windows that are aftermarket.
Is that what's surrounding the window?
Yes. The whole house had been retrofitted to, I don't know if Radco did it or who did it, but in that typical retrofit,
Yeah.
there's a wide vinyl white that goes around the windows. It hides and masks all of the stucco, and they took out the old windows. So the whole house has been retrofitted to dual glazed vinyl windows which was done prior to them purchasing it,
Okay.
about a month or 2 months before.
So I guess my question is, why is it on these two windows and not on the other windows? See what I'm saying?
I think the question Mr. Miller's asking...
Oh, that, okay.
Yeah.
This is like T&G on the bay window, and you'll notice it's also on the front door, and it's just a small 1x6 T&G detail that's around the front door and around the two windows. And I just wanted to maintain that so that they look the same.
Right, so one's existing and one's new.
The bottom one is existing and the top one is new, and that's the only place that appears.
Got it.
And that sticks out approximately 14 inches from the face of the building and doesn't encroach into that 30-foot line.
Great, thank you.
Okay.
And this is the detail I meant about coming back from the roof. So that
Glenn?
Mr. Chair, a question regarding the windows that we just spoke about. You're proposing all vinyl or new windows?
no, the existing house has all retrofitted windows, and the windows that we will be installing will be dual glazed vinyl windows, which is all part of Title 24.
Okay, but they're just vinyl windows is what we're getting to.
Yes.
And the operation is, are there sliders?
Some are sliders and a couple are double hung.
Okay.
I believe the ones that are in the bathroom are double hung because it's more convenient.
Questions from other people?
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Mike?
could we see the front elevation of
This is the front door.
This is the front door.
Is it possible to provide some sort of identity for the entrance? Maybe put a gable here with a couple posts or something?
The front entrance is set back from the face of the house approximately 18 inches. So this ridge here, this fascia board, is 2 feet from the face of the house, but this wall is about 2 feet behind that. So this is like a little alcove that exists.
Right, yeah.
Now, we could put a gable on here or something of that, but it wouldn't fit anything that I can think of, in the fact that it is inset already.
The answer for you, if you don't mind, this new addition is 30 feet from the front yard, from the front property line. This part of the house is existing in the front yard setback. So any alterations he does here would require a modification. And it appears they're not wanting to go that route because they didn't propose anything.
Well, I have another question on the west elevation. That's a game room on the second floor, I guess.
This.
Yeah. If you put a window on to kind of match on the other side, I think you'd get rid of that wall of plaster there.
We could do that.
Right.
We could do that. We
There's some-
were concerned about it interfering with the roof line, but so it would have to be a little taller, because if this line comes here, it might be too close to that. But yeah, we could put a smaller window, keep this line the same, and instead of making it a a 3040, make it a 3030 by putting an additional window here. In fact, I think the client actually wanted that, and I just failed to put it in there.
Okay.
What happens between the ridge and the addition? Is that the second floor comes down right at the ridge? Or is it...
No, the second floor is into the existing ridge of the house.
Okay, so that's...
They're going two different... The second story is perpendicular to the existing ridge line.
I see.
So there'll be a cutout in the existing ridge line, and the front of the existing roof will die into the second story about 2 or 3 feet above the 8-foot line, or the floor level.
Wouldn't that line change then? We show an existing ridge line running all the way through,
This is here, yes.
and then the second floor wall connects to that ridge line, right?
It goes beyond the ridge line.
Well, do you actually have a roof plan for the first floor that shows the second floor and how it happened, how they sit?
No, I have to build one.
We might ask you for that for the next review, because where he's leading with the question, if this thing is a ridge and it slopes back down, you're going to have water trapped between the first floor roof and the second floor wall.
Oh, we need a cricket.
We understand that. That's the answer he's looking
Yeah.
for. So we need to get a roof plan that shows how those crickets are going to happen. You'll notice when that cricket goes down, now you have more room to throw your 3040 window in there, because
It should match.
Yeah.
it should match where it's possible.
We can do that.
Mr. Chair.
Glenn.
Is that chimney that's shown, is that existing, or you're having to
It's existing.
extend the
It's
chimney?
existing. We may have to extend it if it's not 2 feet above the closest spot, which is 20 feet away. I haven't measured that.
Is it a true masonry chimney?
It's a real brick chimney.
Well, it's faced in brick?
No, it's red, the standard red brick.
True red brick fireplace.
Is that chimney 10 feet away of the second floor addition?
Part of it.
Let's just see.
Part of it is.
That's my full length here. The second story is about right here, the corner. So this is about 6 feet.
So the chimney would have to go 2 feet above the roof
Above.
of the addition.
Above that, which is 2 feet above the closest obstacle, 10 feet away.
Yeah, which puts it up there.
It's something that needs to get resolved before we can give you final for sure, maybe preliminary. We want to know the answer, because the simplest for the client is to remove the fireplace completely, because the option is to raise this 2 feet higher than this 2-story addition, makes this brick mass 14, 18 feet tall, and I don't
It would
think...
look ridiculous.
Exactly, and that's our job, to say it looks ridiculous and we won't allow it. So you have to come up with something that doesn't look ridiculous, and we're just pointing out that there's an unresolved issue here.
Sure. When I make that roof plan, I'll give you all of those dimensions at the same time.
I had one quick question. The first floor you had 8 feet. What was the plate on the second floor?
8 feet.
8 feet. So the
They'll
two
both
eight,
be 8 feet.
and then whatever the floor joists are, and that's how. And then the roof pitches match.
And that's why you have the extra foot from 24 to 21 rather than 24 to 20 by taking away the 4 feet.
Yeah. So this is 8 feet. Floor joists 8 feet. Both roof pitches match.
Right.
So it's the minimum height possible. Okay. Questions from anybody else?
I have a question. I think it's the entrance with the gable above. Are you losing that?
That's actually next door.
Oh, okay.
It's
No
architectural
question.
character.
Yes.
They won't let us work on that one.
Yeah, right.
All right. So let's move to comments.
I have one more question.
Oops.
Sorry. The eave lengths on east elevation, just to make sure you have, I guess they dimensioned it 2 feet, but on the other side it's shorter. Is there a reason?
If I made
Optical
it
illusion?
shorter, it was a
Oops.
drafting error.
Oh, okay.
And we never make
They're
those.
approximately 2 feet apiece. No fascia board, even though I put the fascia board, because I think I would want to put a fascia board, because it's better for the gutters, because you're going to have to comply with that rainwater requirement. So we may put fascia boards to hold the gutters.
Okay, let's move to comments.
Mr. Chair,
Glenn?
some general comments. We have this previous set of plans that you submitted back here so we could compare them. I may be the only one that looked at it, but we can all kind of remember what it looked like. And this has gone a dramatic distance. It's a lot better than what was here before,
Thank you.
so I appreciate your efforts. All that being said is there's still some inconsistencies that are difficult to read, and I'll just point out a couple. Like this fireplace here is shown cut by a roof, but when we go to the side elevation, the roof doesn't cut in front of the fireplace. So it's still somewhat difficult to see.
Let me see why that is that way.
But in general, you know, I
I'll
think
have to look and see why that is that way.
Yeah. So it's still a little bit difficult. In general, also, we don't usually love vinyl windows, and just because they're there before, at some point we have to figure out if we're putting an addition on, do we want to just continue vinyl windows? That's just a comment. The other general comment I'll have, I don't know if any of the other board members feel this way, but this TNG or this Texture 111 or whatever this wood element is that surrounds this first floor window element, I don't believe is actually helping the design on the second level. So I wouldn't say to necessarily replicate that, nor would I say it really, it doesn't transition at the top very well. This hits the underside of the eave. This one sort of just stops, and you'd have to have some other roof system on top of that to prevent water from just going through. So you need another roof if you did it that way. Those are my major comments.
Comments from other members? I'll just tag along that I agree that this works because there's a roof above it that receives it. This doesn't work because there's not a roof above it. So there's different ways of solving it. You can put another roof over here, and so you have two gable roofs. You can make this all flat and maybe two shutters or something like that, or sometimes in bay windows they do like a little mini copper roof over it. The simplistic solution is probably the best, and because if you do a little copper roof, then you're going to be fighting how much room you have at the top of the gable, and so. But this needs to get resolved. I don't think this solution does not work because the two conditions aren't the same. So I'm concurring with what Glenn saw.
Yes, it has come a long way, and it's appreciated. And I guess I'm having trouble with the different kinds of windows, the double hung and the slider combination all over the place. I think that as a unifying factor, it might be really nice to keep. I know downstairs in the pictures they're double hung, but it doesn't look like that in the drawing. I don't know how everybody else feels about that as far as keeping it more consistent. And
I think you've come a long way. I think it's great, but I'm still uncomfortable with these elevations because of, like you said, this isn't consistent. When you look on the north, the fireplace looks like it's floating, but there's lines. It's just the elevations don't really communicate accurately. To me, I don't feel comfortable with these elevations because they're not fully thought out. I don't know how else to say it in terms of coordinated communicating what you really want to do, and I think, but you're on the right direction.
If I gave you sectional drawings of that, would that help?
Well, like these windows don't tell me what these windows are. These are squares with lines in them. Like I said, I was asking you what was surrounding these windows. It's a lot of lines, and you can tell that this is a fireplace with bricks, but it's just, I don't really get a sense of what you're really building. I just see this is where a window's going, this is where the fireplace is going, but it doesn't really tell me that the design, I don't know how else to say, it just doesn't read.
I understand exactly what you're saying.
Yeah. Maybe you could have a window like this, but have a picture of that window, so so the board can see what that window is that you're, so
Minorly follow up on that.
yeah.
I heard you say that this is a pop-out window, and I envisioned in my mind kind of what would be at a kitchen bay window. This is where the bathroom was. So the next time you come, if you had the cut sheet, because this is going to be an off-the-shelf kind of bay window projecting out. So you can just bring the cut sheet and say, this is the window that we were having here because it's a little bit more unique. And then these other windows, we all kind of know what a slider and everything, but you still can draw them and show us an image so that we can compare the two so we all are on the same page per se. And that'll help us understand.
A TNG detail you were talking about. This looks quite nice. It's not how it's drawn on the elevations.
Yeah. It's really minor, but because this image, it shows like maybe there's a 1x4 post in here, and then it shows that there's a little bit of a stool underneath your window that it sits on, and then the 1x's are underneath it. There's a little bit more, we always call it foo-foo, or the little fenestration stuff, and that's kind of, if you're just doing the vinyl slap-ons, that's one thing, but if you want to have a little more character to match the existing windows, there's an opportunity that you can add that to the plan. And that'll help the street curb appeal.
The main thing for the vinyl windows is the recommendation from the people that generated the Title 24, because they don't conduct the heat. And to get within that minimum, maximum, whichever you want to call it, it becomes difficult to use some other media. Maybe wood not the same, but still. But we could put wood windows, but then would it blend with the existing vinyl windows?
I would say the board here doesn't have a problem with you going with your vinyl windows that you're going with because it matches the other ones, or at least I'm not sure about that. But the detailing is the detailing is always important for us, and having a window detail that shows how it's going to be resolved. Maybe you just need to come up with something, and we look at it and we say we like it, or it's it can be improved upon.
No problem.
Proposed south elevation. As I look at the photos, there's next to the slider, there's in the pictures existing a door. You're eliminating that door, then I take it. This back door here next to the slider, and you're putting a window in its stead.
Let me put that by the TV camera. Actually, I'm sorry. First, show it to you.
So it looks like you've got a
Talking about
window.
that door right there.
That door stays. That door is the...
Let's turn it this way now.
That door is the existing door that exits the kitchen.
Okay, it's not on your elevation.
Is it over here, or would it be over here?
Wait a minute. Did I forget it?
And interestingly too, that last window on that side on the left is so close to the corner. I mean, I'm not sure that that's a doable thing, or is that existing, that
Here's the
window?
window here. Oh, I know why you don't see it. It's because the garage is in the way. What you're looking at is the back of the garage. And unfortunately,
Oh, it's here, right?
I can make it... I can show you a detail that you don't see the garage. You can't see the window because as you're looking at the back of the house standing here, the garage is blocking this portion of the view.
So this door right there
Is that
this
door right there.
This sliding glass door is in this location.
It's right here.
And then these
And
two
this-
windows would be over here.
Right.
All right. Yeah. Okay.
And that legally non-conforming awning is this line here, which is going to be removed.
Glenn?
Mr. Chair, that kind of points out some other issues on the drawings, that if this is truly the rear elevation here,
Yes.
the garage doesn't make sense with what the plan is showing at all.
This wouldn't be the true
This would
rear
be-
elevation because this is the true front.
Would you...
Time out for a
So
second.
where's,
Because this is 30 feet back.
this is the rear elevation there.
That's the
Okay.
true rear elevation.
This is the side. Got it.
And this would be the left side.
So there's something amiss right here then with that roof.
And that's what Jim brought up about the window right over there. So I think we have enough to make a motion and move forward. Okay. All right, before we make a motion, I'm sorry. This window right here, this would be the back side, here's the chimney. So would that window be in this room right here?
Here.
Because this is
Oh.
the front.
There's a window here in the closet.
Yes. Yeah. So we're going to, I mean, we're going to ask you to sort of come back with, more elevations or refine the elevations. But the window layout here and for this back wall elevation doesn't quite match this back wall elevation.
All right.
So that's just the things that we pick up on because we look at these every day. But cool. Motion? Somewhat.
Better.
Much better. Is there someone who would like to make a motion? You go for it and I'll follow on.
So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion on an indefinite continuance.
2-week continuance?
No.
What do you want to do?
Can you be back in 2 weeks with all the revised drawings?
Or would you like 4 weeks?
No, give me 2, and if it isn't 2, I'll...
No.
We can't. Can we do that or not?
Let's say indefinite. You come back when you're ready, because we do have a pretty full agenda already.
Okay.
So
Keep it as indefinite.
Indefinite continuance for the applicant to continue to bring the drawings up with coordination, to review items with the fireplace, showing the consistency of what's existing and what's proposed. Definitely provide a roof plan that shows the second floor and the first floor, how they integrate. To study the bay window at the second level, front entry. Provide cut sheets for your new doors and windows. I do want to include some comment regarding the bulk and mass of the project. We're not making a motion for approval, but I do want to say that I think it's going very much in the right direction, and I feel would be supportable. I could support that, but and that would be my motion.
Okay. Second by Denise. Sorry about that. Any other discussion? If not, call for vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. We'll see you when you're ready.
Thank you.
Okay. Project moving along. Yeah. And we are going to be on item 4, which is supposed to start in 10 minutes, which is at, no, that was item 4. Item 5, I'm so sorry. Time out.
Start at 4:30, so you have 10 minutes.
Which one? Yeah, we're going to take a 5-minute break.
Put the oval in the door,
And we'll start by reading the minutes of the previous meeting.
So, Mr. Chair, the comments. Number 1, study the deck on the west elevation and provide photographs for the second floor from the second story to evaluate the impact of the deck on the adjacent neighbor. Number 2, study the understory lattice work and details. And number 3, provide roof plan details.
All right. Your mic is on.
Yes.
Good. What you got for us?
Hi, well, I'm Ron Sorgman. This is Jennifer Purdy, the owner. And actually, I have some revised drawings here for you. And
If you don't mind, I'm going to pull these forward. When
sure,
I flip
yeah.
the page, I don't hit the microphones.
mostly what we were looking for was this screening. And so, I have this photograph, and I have this one.
Okay. Put that.
And
this is...
that's standing as if you were on the deck, looking back towards the street at this neighbor over here.
Okay.
Okay? And, at first we weren't too keen on doing this wall, or a screen. Then we thought, well, how do we have a freestanding wall? So what I've done is I did some kind of a screen, but also put a trellis on it so we could tie it back to the house so it's not just this single wall
Floating there.
floating in the middle of the air. So that's what these drawings will show for you. And there was a drafting error before on the location of the stair and the relationship of the overhead deck to that window on that side. And there are 2 large windows on this side, and they get lots of light into this room. So even though this window would be somewhat in shadow, most of the light comes in from this side, and it's really a very nice room.
Okay.
And so up on the deck itself, this is the screen wall. We were just going to put it on this edge with a trellis over it. There's a rail here. And if we go to the next sheet, let me know if I'm going too fast.
Nope, you're not.
So this kind of gives you a sense of the trellis and the railing facing the view. And one thing that they did find about the notion of the screen wall is not only does it give them privacy from the neighbor so that they're not intruding on the neighbor, but also gives them privacy. And by putting a trellis on top of it, it almost feels a little bit like an outdoor room. And what I've done and we eliminated the lattice work and everything that was underneath there, and just let it remain open. And then the screen wall is up 4 inches from the decking, 4 inches down from the beam, and the screen wall itself is made up of a series of diagonally placed fins, you might say, and there's some details in there of that. And this is kind of a little bit of a colored elevation to kind of show you what that looks like. And here's the trellis over the top. Okay? And if you go to the next page, so I have details of all it. And you can see all of these fins doing that. It'll allow for light to come in and some ventilation, those nice cool ocean breezes, and yet give quite a bit of privacy. And we get the 4-inch clearance that you'd have on a regular rail kind of thing.
Great detail.
And then I have a little sketch of what this whole thing might look like.
Cool. Okay.
And also we brought a sample of what they were thinking about making that screen wall out of. It's pretty dense material, pretty heavy.
Yeah. Pass that around.
It should hold well in the marine environment. And
Fabulous. One thing I want, the roof plan, that was addressed.
Right.
What did we? Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
There was some question about the roof and how it tied in there, and this starts at the same plate height. There actually is a break in the roof right at this point.
Okay.
So. But we're not doing anything back there.
Alrighty. I will open up public comment. Is there anyone from the public? Seeing nobody, I'll go to staff. Are there any letters of concern?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. We do have 2 letters, one in opposition from Ms. Paula Westbury, and one from a neighbor, John Clark. And let me just summarize this here for just a moment. Concerned about the number of additions and second-story additions to the neighborhood. says the lots and area were not designed for this. They're concerned about their private view of the ocean. It says looking out your windows into the next door neighbor's roof line or deck should not be allowed. If people want a 3,000 square foot house, then they should purchase one in a neighborhood that has been developed as such. And we are against any new remodels, etc., that take away views of the neighbors that live next door or behind the houses affected. It is not fair to the neighbors.
Well, thank you for that. Thank you. So I will close public comment and return it back to the board for questions of the applicant. Mr. Glenn.
Just minor. There's something going on with this supporting element of the deck here and something here that I don't see how the two relate to each other. Again, it's minor, but I'm not sure. Well, it looks like there's a corbel or a beam sticking through here.
Yeah, well, these are corbels that I was just going to put onto here. I was thinking about doing that for this element, but I'm kind of waffling on that because you hardly ever see this side at all. I mean, mostly you see this.
The corbels are being thought of only on the side and not on this
Right,
elevation.
because if I did one here, how could I get one in here? It would be jamming up against the end of the roof. It would.
I'm not. Yeah, it was just a question, and
Yeah.
you'll get to comments, I guess.
I think when he does his structural working drawings and he'll figure out how to do those metal attachments, it'll resolve itself. Questions from anybody else? Mr. Zimmerman.
I really like the looks of, the flowers and the vine growing up here. And I think that, if that trellis was planted, then you wouldn't necessarily be looking into a wood fence. It would really look good to have this vine growing up and then trailing
from the
across
ground.
here. Put something kind of a big mature pot to start with, get it climbing up there. Cool. Yeah, I think that needs some greenery and flowers.
That is
there.
very nice there.
Yeah.
You can see it also in this photograph, with all that greenery along that
Yeah,
edge.
and to have that wood, grill sticking up, I think it'd look fine if it was, we get some vines on it.
You certainly can do that.
Any other questions? On to comments. Denise.
Yes, I think this is a really nice solution. I like the trellis wall there. I think it certainly takes care of the neighbors and peering into their window, which, kind of looks like you would have been without it. So I think it's a very nice solution. Well done.
I'll just concur that I agree. This is a great solution. One minor comment that I have, since no one's speaking real fast, this corbel here looks a little funny, a little awkward. The cantilever, and it's these corbels over here, and I think it's something to resolve for final, but it won't be a hiccup for preliminary. I'm thinking maybe a 6x8 beam, a little beefier beam that looks like I can truly support what's happening. I'm not positive enough, but what I'm sensing is that this intersection here looks a little funny in the way it's happening there. So my only comment is when you start doing your next generation of drawings, study this for more of a traditional solution, and then it would look believable as you walk down the street. You go, yeah, I can see how that's working. So, but that's very minor. I mean, it's a great project.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Oops.
No, that's perfect. That was.
Any other comments? Haphazard? All right, we need a motion.
I'd like to make a motion.
Beautiful. Is your mic on? Doesn't count if your mic's not on.
I would like to give them preliminary approval, and possibly go to consent for final. I find that the solution is compatible with the neighborhood and in mass bulk and scale.
Quality building materials?
I think the quality of building materials is good, what he shows here.
And then we're not removing any landscaping?
I would like to add some fairly large vines with the flowering vines. What is that?
That looks like just reverse that.
Yeah.
Just say vines for now. He'll be more
Yeah.
specific later.
Okay. And now those would be added at the base of the posts and hopefully climb up and give it some greenery up above.
Is there someone who wants to second that motion? Second by Aaron. Discussions? Mr. Miller?
Discussion about to study that area on the
Can you-
east elevation where the corbels are formed.
Can you have him, or can you add to the motion to study the corbels?
Study the beams at the overhang or the corbels on the east elevation where they intersect the existing roof line.
Any other discussion item?
Mr. Chair, I was speaking of the post, the vine coming up it, and I thought it might be a benefit to have some sort of plinth that it sets into the ground with.
Can you be more specific? I'm not following you.
Oh, the post that we were talking about having the vine on?
So this post would have to be on a block of concrete, so it's 8 inches above, so that creates a plinth. And you're saying, so perhaps make a motion to study the base that the post rests upon, and you come up with a solution, but he's thinking there needs to be something a little bit strong. But you decide if it's going to be, a 12-inch by 12-inch square brick thing, or you want to just go with a concrete sonotube. But we all know that this post has to be at least 8 inches above the dirt so it doesn't rot, and the concrete is a little bit larger, so that's but you, as a designer, have an opportunity to...
Make it wider, like the footing width, maybe.
So
Pocket.
the comment would be is just to study the base of the posts. And it's okay with the firster? Any other discussion items? Anything else, Brian? Okay. I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And I need to announce a 10-day appeal period and an indefinite continuance. And when you come back, bring a color board, and even if you're matching existing...
Indefinite continuance? It's continuous consent calendar, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Perfect, I forgot about that. Bring a color board, and even if you're matching existing, we need to have the colors on the record.
Okay.
Okay?
Thank you.
So we're now on to item 5, which is supposed to start at 4:50. You know what? We're gonna wait until 4:50. We had one project in which we passed because they didn't have their drawings corrected. So if I can get a motion to reopen what was item 1. Let's see which item that is. Item 9, which was our item 1. 1220 Shoreline Drive. Can I have a motion to reopen that? Glenn, is there a second? Second. All right, second by Denise. All in favor? Aye. Okay, opposed? Motion carries. We're going to reopen 1220 Shoreline Drive. And we had a hiccup with the drawings. That's the reason why we're reopening it. Wrong drawings. We need to get the minutes of the previous meeting. It was the weather vane, it was the color board. There we go. That was missing. And do you have a landscape plan?
The landscape plan, what we'd like to do is,
Can I have you announce your name for the record? I'm sorry.
I'm Jim Zimmerman, architect for the Kurzweils, is to show what's existing and what's going to stay. There's no new landscape plan. There's not a new landscape plan. So the landscape was done about 4 years ago, and it's matured nicely. What we'd like to do is show what's there and try to keep that. There won't be any changes in the landscaping.
Let's see that with photos or...
It does show in the photos, the other.
Okay, you have the architectural details? You want to start with that sheet?
Yeah. Well, we have the new floor plan, which hasn't changed from the preliminary, and we have the a roof plan and the first and second floor plan.
Okay.
And the exterior elevations.
And the weather vane, if we just jump to that one, is that drawn per scale?
We have it dimensioned on one of the sheets there. We have the sections. And window door details. I don't see the weather vane on here.
We have this to work off of.
Oh,
It says
okay.
it's 24 inches tall.
Yes.
Let me put that in front of the camera. Okay, so this exists somewhere on the property already,
Yes.
and we're relocating
It's
this.
on top of an existing cupola on top of the garage.
Okay, so this one is going to be the one that's relocated.
That's correct, yeah.
Okay. And then there was a comment about stormwater management program, and that was the reason for the landscape. It said provide a landscape plan showing compliance with the required stormwater. Have you gotten to that point yet?
Yeah, we know what we're going to be doing. We're going to be putting a trench across the front,
That's
which
right.
is
that's on
about
that
3.5
site plan.
feet deep. And basically, there'll be a trench running along here and along here. It's about 3.5 feet deep, and that takes care of the water sheds toward the street, and then it fills up, and then eventually spills over.
Alrighty.
So basically, we'll just be replacing the grass in the front.
Can I ask you a question? I know it's your present. I'll ask it later. Never mind. Anything else?
No, all the landscaping at the rear yard remains. Basically, we're just cutting out the patio, and but all the landscaping will remain.
Great. And that's it?
Yeah, and then we have the structural drawings at the
Okay.
end here.
So with that, I'll open up public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this project? Seeing none, do we have any letters of concern?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have a letter of concern to be acknowledged from Ms. Paula Westbury.
Okay. Are there questions from the board to the applicant?
Mr. Chair.
Glenn?
I see a stone wall shown in plan, and just from memory, I don't remember seeing it. Is there something that shows this on the drawing?
The elevation of it?
No, I don't think we have an elevation of it. It's sandstone. And that was added.
Can I follow up on that? The location of this sandstone wall in relationship to your property line, can it be located there as well as the percolating trench drain? Is this city right-of-way?
It's a city right-of-way that is planted and taken care of by the adjacent property owner. And on the last project, we were able to put a fence with the landscaping and a drainage channel.
Okay.
So we are talking to Public Works about that.
So it is permissible by the city?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions for the applicant? Did you have a deck on the second floor with this project?
Yes, there's
And you don't have any deck details at this point?
there's a deck right here.
But I didn't
think,
see a detail for this, the railings and things like that.
It'd be a wood railing that would match the railing in the front at the patio.
Okay.
It's white wood cap with verticals, wood verticals.
Other questions? If not, we'll jump to comments.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I'm looking at, I saw that little deck off one side in the elevations, but I'm not seeing it in the plan view.
Are you talking the second floor east elevation?
I believe so.
Yeah, it's in the plan view.
But if you look on A2, I'm looking for it, I'm not finding
That's
it.
probably the existing floor. Proposed
It's
site plan.
proposed.
It's right above the trash recycling closure.
That's what I thought. Well, that's not going to fit our 15-foot.
We already been through that.
Did
It
we
went
go through
to
that?
Planning Commission, just for the benefit of the TV viewing audience. It doesn't comply with the 15 feet, but it was overlooking the front yard of somebody versus the backyard of somebody. So we did a vote, and we realized that this deck wasn't a significant encroachment. Plus, I think it's like 3.5 feet, and our guideline is decks over 3 feet. So it was really close.
Thank you for that clarification.
Mr. Chair, comments?
Go for it.
I'm a little, I mean, I think the design of the house is fine. I think it's really, it'll be really nice. I'm a little uncomfortable about the site plan, about not seeing landscaping, that the comments that were talked about, not seeing anything regarding the storm water management kind of detailed here, nor how the fence works with all of those issues. So my comment would be to really establish a site plan that shows those items.
I had a comment that I wanted to address towards the landscape architects. In the front, there was, on the site plan, which is A2, there was a comment about the existing flagstone walk being removed, which is a pedestrian access, which then means that people are having to go the same place where the driveway was, and I wanted to have people weigh in on that versus having a designated pedestrian entry separate from the cars along that front, and if you felt that was valid.
Yes, if I may, Mr. Chair. I really like a separate pedestrian access.
stay.
I mean, perhaps not the same one, because you're going to have a new wall configuration out there, but something that integrates well with this proposed site plan that does separate the pedestrian from the vehicular would be really nice.
Additional comments from board members? Mr. Miller.
Yes, I'd like to see elevation of the stone wall in the front yard and the...
So noted.
Pardon?
So noted.
Yes.
We will ask for one.
So, Mr. Chair, adding to that, there also is a note about a lantern. I don't know how that integrates with the wall, but that needs to also be delineated in a cut sheet of it as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Does someone want to make a motion? Are we to that point? This project's received preliminary approval, and it's here for an in-progress review.
Can we, Mr. Chair, we can't make for final because we don't have the stormwater issue resolved?
I would say we don't have deck
Enough
dealing
information.
details for this deck. We can't give it final.
Mm-hmm.
And then I don't think we can give it final if we're not
Correct. But even if
resolved.
those items were done, the stormwater is going to dictate we couldn't necessarily.
Yes, Mr. Chair and board members, that is true that when Tier 3 or any time the stormwater management program is required, they must show compliance with it prior to the board granting final approval.
Okay. So our comments will be comments only, and we can say come back to full board or consent with these addressing these items.
I'll make the motion. But I'm thinking we should come back to full board because there are the issues of a pedestrian entry and how that breaks into the front wall. We don't know what the front wall looks like in elevation yet.
Do you want to ask other people what they think?
Yes, how does everybody
How do you
feel?
guys feel?
Full board or consent?
I'm either way. I mean, I trust the two of you when you're looking at landscape to make the decision at consent.
So do I trust myself on consent? Because I'm on consent.
You're being taped.
Well, you want to...
Mr. Miller?
I'd like to see the front wall.
All right.
Okay, then full board.
Full board it is.
So we'd like to make a motion that to continue this to full board, indefinite continuance, bringing back to us elevation of the front wall, the lighting that is proposed for the front columns, the new pedestrian entryway, and stormwater management, that is addressed on the plans.
Perfect. Is there someone who wishes to second that?
I second that.
Mr. Miller, any discussion?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to add to include the existing landscaping into that site plan, if it's okay.
Well, we reviewed these photos, and he says there's not going to be any changes to it, and it's all mature landscaping, so
But how about the
I'm not sure.
impacts to the existing landscaping due to the stormwater management program?
Oh, that's right, that's going to change
And
things.
the front wall, there's a little planter in front of the wall.
All right, then, and we'll have to include then
So if we can modify the motion to include impacts to the existing landscaping due to new construction?
And Mr. Chair, may I also add about the detail of the railing at the second level as well?
Well, we can't give it final, and he knows it's required for final
Okay.
without architectural details, so. Any other discussion? All right, with that, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Indefinite continuance. Back to full board. Now we're on to the next item. And I'm looking for it. This is going to be our new item 5, which was item 6. It is 227 La Vista Grande. It's a new public hearing, so I'm going to read the project description. The time right now is 4:52, so we're about on time. This is a proposal to construct a 530 square foot one-story addition to an existing 1,263 square foot one-story residence with an attached 448 square foot garage below, resulting in a 2,241 square foot residence with an attached two-car garage on a 17,000 square foot lot in the Hillside Design District. The proposal is 51% of the maximum Florida area guideline.
Mr. Chair, if I might make a quick staff comment before the applicant proceeds. I just wanted to let you know that there was an error in the project description, and I wanted to just rectify that for the record. It is, in fact, a one-car garage with an attached approximately 160 square foot workshop. And so the addition at about 530 square feet is less than the addition. Cumulative additions are less than 50% pre-1980, so the existing one-car garage can remain.
Okay. All righty. Your name and presentation. Turn on that one mic for you. Perfect.
I'm Eric Swinnemson, the designer, and the owners, Bill and Nancy Cogleiser, are here. To orient you, do you know where the site is? La Vista Grande. It's off of APS, just above the roundabout.
We've got some site photos, too, we can go through.
Yeah. It's the city says about a 21% slope. So it's a one-story house with a garage workshop below. So it's, in some sense, a two-story house. But we're proposing this addition on the main level on the one-story portion.
Can we get the site photos, if there are some, to pass around?
I have some on the sheets, but they're
Let's just
kind of
quickly
dark.
walk through them for the other board members. For all of us, really.
Some shots from the air. This is our project house here in the center. This is the back, looking from near the spot where we're going to do the addition, looking into the back, uphill. As you can see, you can't see the neighbor. The rear neighbor is pretty far away up the hill. From up on the upper slope, looking down at the area where we're proposing to do the addition. And then the two side yards from, again, the area that we're proposing to do the addition, looking at the neighbor across the yard on both sides. Okay. So topography. Statistics. The goal here is to add a couple of bedrooms and then enlarge and remodel the kitchen, add some to the master suite as well.
Only adding one bedroom.
Oh, I'm sorry, one bedroom, right. Currently it's a two-bedroom house, so we're adding one for the growing family.
The roof plan's going to be really interesting.
We're looking at it.
We haven't
Yeah.
gotten there yet, but let's talk about it.
Okay.
One-car garage, workshop below. This is the front view.
Right.
This is your back.
Right. So if we can go back to the floor plan, I can explain a little bit about what we're doing. It's a gable primarily with these angles. So I'm proposing to take the center section and raise the ridge here. The current ridge comes across this way. So we're going to widen it to this point. So it'll raise, so this point will raise up. We're going to get a little bit of a gable on this side. I'm just breaking the pitch here to make it simpler because of this width and this area. This is going to be an exposed gable here. Is it making sense?
Almost. Is this a Paul Green original house?
I don't think so.
Paul Green?
Green was the original builder?
No,
I don't believe so.
I forgot his name. It was the owner that built it. He was an architect from Wisconsin.
Yeah, the proposal is also to match colors, comp shingle roof. We'll redo the entire roof. And then the windows are a 50s metal, primarily casement, but they're a metal frame that we would, steel, right? We want to try to match that. That's the plan.
Thank you. So with that, I will open up public comment.
Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this project? Seeing nobody, do we have any letters of concern?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have one letter of concern from Ms. Paula Westbury.
Great. Bring it back to the board for questions of the applicant.
Also, Mr. Chair, if I might just jump in, I just wanted to note for the record, the footing says comments only, project requires environmental assessment. Just want to state for the record, environmental assessment has been completed. Action may be taken up to preliminary approval today. They just have to provide compliance with Tier 3 stormwater management program prior to final approval and a soils report prior to issuance of a building permit.
Okay. So questions for the applicant?
Mr. Chair, have you determined whether the existing chimney will have to be extended?
It will, yeah.
And is it a masonry chimney?
It is.
Okay.
Where does that happen in plan and where is it in elevation? There it is.
Here.
I guess my biggest concern or question, and It is a question. Have you done some financial numbers to sort of say that by raising this ridge up, whatever you wanted to do to make the roof plan work is within the budget of your client?
Our intention is to try and get preliminary approval and then get, full drawings and then go get bids from several contractors to see if it was possible for us.
Okay, that's between you and your, it's between you and your designer. I'll save it for later. That's the question that I was looking at, how I would do the roof plan. It's like, wow. Okay.
Mr. Chair, I don't see where that ridge is continued up on height. Is this it right here?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah,
And this is an existing stone wall?
correct.
Right here.
It's CMU, yeah.
And then the bank goes up behind, right?
Right.
What you might consider is...
Questions first, and then we'll go into comments. Sorry. Any other questions? All right, the floor is yours, Mr. Zimmerman. It's you.
Well, especially in the kitchen area where you spend a lot of time, you're going to be looking out into the stone wall. Here you're looking out at the stone wall. You have an 8-foot plate going off.
Yeah. It's a little
If you're going to
higher.
be raising the roof, why don't you raise the wall, the plate back there, so that when you're standing here, you're looking out into the bank above, instead of just looking into the stone wall.
Okay. It's,
Being that you're raising the roof anyhow.
okay. We can look at that. The wall is only, it's less than 3 feet high. But I see your point. We can discuss it.
Comments from other people?
Yeah, I'm a little not clear on the roof plan, and especially in the area of Hearst Bassett. This whole area here, I think, needs a little study as far as the roof plan goes, because I don't know how this really work. My suggestion is possibly simplify this a little bit. Too many corners.
Well, I'll justify that a little bit in that that's right at the setback line. And it was simpler, but it encroached into the setback, and so the option was make it more complicated or get a modification. And it looked to be not very supportable by staff for a modification, so this is where we are. I mean, it's 3 gables stepping back.
Which is kind of here, there.
And then California over the existing. Yeah.
Do you have a front view of how this looks? Oh, it's over kind of hidden.
Yeah, got a little bit of an angle here.
Comments from other people?
Mr. Chair, I'm just going to follow up a little bit on Brian's comments, just so that the designer can really see what I saw as an issue. If this was taken away, the existing roof or the existing wall lines here, my guess is there has to be a break in the roof somewhere here as a ridge or a hip coming down. And I don't see how that works with the proposed design.
Okay.
So when you look at that, that's something to think about. The other comment in general is this entire addition is on the back of the house. It's 1 story. It moderately raises the ridge, so I don't have any big issues with the addition as a neighborhood compatibility issue or anything like that. It's just sort of details to work out. Then part of that is looking again at issues of how roofs collide, the extension of the chimney coming up. Just a question, I don't know if this is going to have to meet Title 24 compliance when you start talking about those steel windows and things.
Yeah.
So that's something to look at. But in general, I think it's a very supportable project and would look good.
Comments from other people?
No, other than I agree with Mr. Geisler said.
I'll make a comment. It's completely supportable, one story, just like what Glenn was saying. I look at this because I look at, drawing up the structural drawings and what's going to be entailed, because you've got a certain roof rafters so long, and now you're going to ask to make them so much longer, and things quickly spiral out of control when it looks like it's just a 500 square foot addition before you realize you're going to be rebuilding 1,200 square feet of your house. And as long as you understand the scope of work necessary to make this happen, maybe there's certain tricks that I'm not aware of, certain way beams are going to be placed. But I think it's a very complicated roof and a complicated solution. It's a very unique house, so it's got you to this location. But giving you preliminary approval and allowing you to start working drawings, go for it. Or from my perspective, but I think there needs to be some caution when you start looking at the budgetary concerns with the solution that's been generated, and that's a caution that I have as a professional.
Mr. Chair, may I tack on to that? One of the comments I didn't mention was to study it in section that actually shows building components of how they're bearing existing components, and see how the new components are going to bear on.
Yeah, I've done some of that.
Okay.
And then we have some beams in here, and yeah.
Anything else? If not, we need a motion from the board, either indefinite or preliminary, and then either back to full board or to consent.
I'll try to make a motion that we...
Is your mic on? It doesn't count.
I make a motion that we make preliminary approval with a note to study this little roof area here.
Over which section of the house?
Over on the east section of the house. Study what and provide sections showing how the new roof configuration works. And otherwise, it's compatible to the neighborhood. I think it's mass, bulk, and scale works with the house. And
back to full board or consent?
And, I think back to full board. And
good. Is there someone who would like to second that?
I'll second that.
Denise, is there any other discussion about the motion? Seeing none, I'll call for a vote.
NPO?
NPO findings.
make NPO findings.
Okay. Preliminary approval for the basis of beginning working drawings. I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Indefinite continuance. And I will announce that there is a 10-day appeal period for this project. Sure.
Yes.
Continue back to full board. That was item 5, so we're on item 6. Item 6 is supposed to start at 5:20 and it's 5:10. So we will be taking a 5 to 10 minute break depending on when the applicant shows up. So. Reopen the board. This item is going to be item 6, which was the old 7. It's 505 Baldwin Road. It is a new item, so I'm going to read the project description. The proposal is for a 332 square foot second story addition and a 28 square foot ground floor addition to an existing one-story, 1,226 square foot single-family residence and an attached two-car garage on a 6,479 square foot lot. The proposed total of 1,586 square feet is 57% of the maximum required floor-to-area ratio. The proposal will include relocating the existing fence along Baldwin Road and Romaine Drive out of the public right-of-way, the as-built patio cover, and the new 8-foot-tall fence along the interior property lines are approved under a separate building permit. So if I have your name for the record and your presentation.
Yeah, my name is Chris Cottrell. I'm the designer. This is Mayfair Yang, the owner. So we have a very humble addition on a constrained lot. And this is a corner lot where they've got 2 front yards, as you well know. Sort of the last place to add a little much-needed office space is above the garage. So we're running straight up above the garage. If we want to just look at some photos real quick, just to get you oriented. Yeah.
Oh, let's actually switch sheets.
Alright, so we've got a 50s ranch, again, right on the corner. It's got,
This is the front of the house?
That's the street elevation, exactly.
And this also?
Sorry, upside down. Yeah, exactly. So that's the existing garage right there.
Okay.
So this proposal is to, you can see the street slopes down from the main residence down to the garage. So adding on top of the garage, it becomes more of a split level rather than a true 2-story. And in fact, we'll see the second story addition, the ridge height is only 5 feet taller than the main residence ridge. Okay. Exactly. So topography works in our favor in this case. But if we just want to walk through the plan very quickly. From the existing dining room, there's an interior stair going up to the second floor addition. It's just a main office space. We've got a half bath, and then just a little desk area. This is right above the garage below. It's not popping out anymore, exactly. And then just a little covered patio right off that.
Okay.
Elevation-wise, I did a couple just color renderings too, if you want to see those. Should we walk through these first?
Your color ones are nicer.
All right. So this is the street view. This is the existing garage door opening. That's not changing at all. The garage right now is a stucco finish. We're going to maintain the same finish. We're also keeping the same eave detail from the main residence. It's all quite similar. The trellis will match the existing trellis. We're adding, this isn't there right now, this little trellis right over the garage. We can do some growies on that, some jasmine or something like that to soften that a little bit. Keep the same window style. This window is obviously an addition after the original house was built. But the windows that we're proposing will match the original house window style.
Great.
Great. So that was the main elevation. This is looking across the main residence, looking at the garage behind. So this ridge is only 5 feet 4 inches above the existing ridge.
Okay.
And these 2 elevations are the ones that no one sees. This is behind the house. This is their access back into the garage. This is the stairway up that's enclosed there. So this is window at the bottom, the stair window at the top. And then this is the side view. This is the existing house beyond, and side view is stacked windows.
Great. Wonderful. Anything else?
Yeah, it's we're just really in badly need of a little extra space because
Just a little closer to the microphone. That's all.
I'm a professor and my study currently is located in our dining room. And when I bought the house, I was single, so it felt like a huge house to me. But that was many years ago, and now I have a husband and a kid. And the kid takes up 1 bedroom, and then we're squeezed into a tiny other bedroom, and my husband has his study desk in the bedroom, and then I have mine in the dining room. So we're desperately in need,
We
and we
all
only have
understand
one
that.
bathroom. We need an extra half bathroom. So.
Okay, thank you. With that, I will open up public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to speak on this project? Seeing nobody, are there any letters of concern?
Yes, Mr. Chair, we do have one letter of concern from Ms. Paula Westbury.
Okay, great. Bring it back to the board for questions for the applicant.
Question, this is a two-story addition. Can you show on this neighborhood map, there was a photo of one of the buildings
Yeah.
that showed a two-story
That
structure?
is definitely, that's an adjacent building. That's right here.
Okay.
This is a one-story garage, and then he has multiple two-story
Are there
structures.
any additional second-story or two-story houses in the neighborhood?
There aren't adjacent. Of the two neighbors that are adjacent, that's the only one that is two-story.
But they're within
Yeah.
this general area?
There are
Right.
in that general area. I can't point them
Yeah.
out to tell you which lot they're on.
Phil, is there any other? Phil, is there any other house with 2 stories? Do you know?
I can't think of one.
Yeah, but the one right behind us, to the south of us.
Okay.
Yeah, he built that about 4 years ago.
I'll get
Oh, did you flip the photo? Sorry. Yeah, exactly. That.
And
So
that's their white picket fence that
Yeah.
they're moving out of the, moving it back onto their property.
got it.
Out of it right away.
Yeah, I bought the house in '95 and the fence was there, but yeah,
Yeah, that happens.
I didn't realize it was.
Any other questions for the applicant? If not, we'll move to comments.
I have a comment, maybe.
Mr. Miller?
I'm just thinking, I'm wondering, because this seems kind of funny with the trellis integrating with this roof. What if you made this little roof element right here a gable? If that would work a little better.
Yeah, we certainly could do that. I mean, the whole goal is to keep things as economical as possible. So that was one reason we didn't introduce another roof form.
What's a gable?
It would be this rather than down. It would be a little, like a little,
Over your
Little roof.
office would be a vault ceiling.
be a little.
Oh, I
It would
see.
look like this
Oh, okay.
on here.
Above
Kind-
the window.
Yeah, above the window. Give it a little more charm, kind
Oh,
of,
okay.
because it kind of looks like a cyclops.
Just curiosity, what is the plate for the second floor?
So it's a 7'6" plate. We're just crunching that down as much as possible.
And that's also a 7'6" at the front, which is this window right here?
Right. Yep.
Yeah, because that's where the desk was.
Yep.
Mr. Chair, I have a comment. The existing house, is this cedar shingles or is
It's a
that
composite shingle.
It's a composite,
Yeah.
and the garage is a stucco right now. So
Exactly.
you already have two different materials going.
Yes.
One of the things that I thought about was still keeping the two materials, but maybe only the first story of the garage element, maybe stucco, and introducing maybe more of this type of element here with a band that breaks it up, therefore that this would integrate better with the house. That was my only real comment. As far as this issue of the trellis kind of coming in lower here and then upper here, you might want to study just having a simple beam that comes down in the same plane. I know this is 7'6", so that's probably why you got it up a little bit. But those are generally my comments. I feel pretty good about the project. It's a pretty modest second-story addition. It also takes advantage of the slab of the garage being down on grade. So,
Questions? You go straight to comments.
I think that's a great idea about breaking up the material. That, what elevation is that? It's,
Be the west elevation?
yeah, it's really exposed to the street, right? That elevation.
This elevation is, yeah. So it's mostly
kind of this elevation?
No, this is not seen at all. This is all, yeah. This is thick foliage back there.
I thought it was on the corner.
Yeah, this is the elevation
Oh,
you
I
actually
see.
see, yeah.
Okay.
So this is what you see from the street, and this is the one that's hidden. But there's already this rhythm going on. We could do something like this right up here and get that same.
Yeah, I'd rather see you go to an 8-foot plate and then continue the inside.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah, I would concur with what they're saying. You have a very modest addition, and so now that you've been as small as you can, pick up the height a little bit and then resolve the trellis, because the trellis looks a little on the awkward side.
Great. Okay.
And then you can also pick up this window, perhaps leave the sill where it is, because it's right at where the desk level is, but pick up the top,
Okay.
the head.
Great.
And something's weird, I don't quite understand. I guess, is this the 4x4 post that I'm looking at, this
Yes.
line?
Yeah.
And is there a corbel underneath it that supports it? It's a fine-tuned detail
Yeah.
thing. But you don't have to have a post here if this thing dies into the wall here.
One
And
less.
that cleans this up a little bit.
Great.
But it's a, very well-designed solution.
Great.
So any other discussion, or are we ready to make a motion? And
No, that's fine.
we can give it preliminary approval and then decide if it's going to be to full board or consent for final. This is 505 Baldwin Road.
Oh, that's not even there. That's here. So, Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion
Okay.
for preliminary approval, making MPO findings for neighborhood compatibility, bulk mass scale, quality of design and materials, and have the applicant return to, I'm going to say consent and see how that flies, and have the applicant study raising the plate height on the second floor to 8 feet, and adjusting this back trellis so it integrates with the slope of the roof. I'm trying to think of the other comments.
Something about the wood shingles on the second floor.
And have the applicant study the breaking up of the two-story mass with a compatible material with the existing house, and it's the option of the applicant to remain stucco on the bottom level, and maybe put a band between the two that would break it up. And have the applicant come back with all of the details and the colors and all of the lighting information that you'll get.
Great. Is there someone who wishes to second that?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Miller. Is there any other discussion? Now I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Preliminary approval. I will announce a 10-day appeal period for the project.
Thank you.
And now we're going to move on to the last item of the day. That item is the applicant's not here. We're going to take another 10-minute break, folks. Don't leave yet. She's got some paperwork for you.
Thanks, you guys.
About 10 minutes.
Floor plans and elevations didn't change.
We're getting ready to start, but once the staff is ready, we'll start.
So 15 minutes early.
Additional.
Oh.
We'll probably still wait 45 minutes.
We're still going to wait 5 minutes. 5:50, 5:40. We'll wait 5 more minutes. About 5:42. This item was supposed to start at 5:50. This is a new project. It is item 7, which was item 8. 1351 Santa Rita Circle. I'm going to read the project description because this is the first time our board has seen this project. This is a proposal for a facade remodel and a 1,070 square foot addition, including a 952 square foot second-story addition to an existing one-story, 1,383 square foot single-family residence with an attached two-car garage on a 6,970 square foot lot. The proposed total includes 32 square foot demolition of the existing porch, a new 53 square foot porch, and a 44 square foot addition to the existing two-car garage, 361 square foot garage. Let me back up. A 44 square foot addition to the existing attached two-car garage, which is 361 square feet. The proposed total will result in a two-story, 2,421 square foot single-family house with an attached two-car garage. The proposal is 83% of the maximum floored area ratio. Comments only. Project requires environmental assessment.
And Mr. Chair, if I might add, environmental assessment has been completed. They just need Tier 2 stormwater management compliance required prior to final approval, and then a coastal exemption prior to issuance of building permit. But you can take action up to preliminary today on this item.
All right, thank you very much. So if I can have your name for the record and your presentation.
Jose Luis Esparza, I'm the architect. And let's start with the location. It's Santa Rita, which is on the corner, the project's on the corner of San Rafael and Santa Rita, and it's one block from Shoreline, which is right in front of Shoreline Park. The house is a mid-50s tract home, which has not been improved. It's still in the original conditions. This is the front of the building. This is this is the side, this is the front. This faces San Rafael, and then this faces Santa Rita.
Okay.
And this is looking...
This is the first house off of Shoreline Drive.
Right.
This is your back property line, which is that white wall.
Right. It's got a retaining wall with a 42-inch fence on top. This is the existing front entrance, which is wedged between the front of the garage and the house.
And that's the backyard?
And that's the backyard.
Neighborhood?
Yes, some of the neighbors. You can see there are 2 stories in the neighborhood.
This is from your property looking towards the ocean?
Yes. It was a little bit foggy day, so you can see the park there.
Okay. Pass these down, push that way, and then we'll go that way. All right, you're up.
Okay, let's start with the site. We're basically doing very little on the ground floor. We are removing this area to create a front porch, because right now the entrance is right here. So you can walk down the driveway and then up a little porch and into the house in the back. So we'll be coming in with the front porch here, and then we're extending the garage so it'll meet the
20 by 20
20 by 20. And then we're adding here, and this you'll see that's the new stairwell going up to the second floor. This is the existing floor plan. So we've got the driveway, the porch. Right now we have the living room there and 3 bedrooms. kitchen in the back, or ocean facing. This is if you look at the photos, this is exactly the way it looks. So those are the existing, and the concern was that we maintain these 4 windows, which are on the San Rafael side, because that's non-conforming setback. It cuts like right here. So that we're maintaining. So we've created a niche for the front porch. So now you're coming up and onto the front porch, and then an entry. We're making this a master bedroom. It's going to be used more of a study until the owner's in her early 60s, and she's afraid that once she gets a little bit older, she won't be able to make it up the stairs. So this will be her bedroom for that period of time. And then on the top floor, we've got the master bedroom, and then two rooms that share a bath, and a deck facing the ocean. We are proposing to change the architecture to a Spanish style. There are quite nice examples of Spanish architecture in the neighborhood, so we feel that it's an appropriate change. We're not changing the roof pitch. The area that's in the setback, which is this area, we're going to keep the same. We're just going to change the windows to fit the new architecture, but the same size windows.
Okay. And what's this last sheet? The roof plan.
And the roof plan, we've got the deck on the second floor. These are the 2 streets, so we're trying to keep the second story as far back as possible from the ground floor, and build over the garage, since we're rebuilding it anyways, or adding to it.
Okay. Great. Good presentation. Anything else?
And that's it.
All right. With that, I will open up public comment. Is there anyone from the public wishing to address the board?
I think it's a nice plan. I know what it's doing.
All right. So with that, are there any letters of concern?
Yes, Mr. Chair, there is one letter of concern from Ms. Paula Westbury.
From Ms. Paula Westbury. All right. With that, I will close public comment and return it back to board for questions of the applicant.
I have a question. You said that you're making this a Spanish home, yet the photographs you showed us, I don't see a single Spanish home in any of those photographs.
If we look on the photographs, looking at the San Rafael, we do have some Spanish-style homes in that direction.
From those that you gave us?
Yes. It's just that it's not in the foreground. It's looking up the street.
When we look up that, your front yard setback is 20 feet?
Yes.
And the existing building, is it 20 feet, or is it 21 feet, or is it 19? Or?
On the side, it looked like it was a little bit skewed, so it was like 20 on the corner with about 20 feet 2 inches,
okay,
on the side. Because it's not a square front or property line.
Okay.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Miller?
I don't...
Oops.
Forgive me. I don't...
You may.
Show me where you see a Spanish home.
I don't show them in the photo, sorry. But I'd be glad to come back with photos of Spanish homes in the neighborhood.
Okay. Other people, questions for the applicant? Perfect. Just
Sure. What? On the San Rafael, where the setback projects into part of the house, are you building up a two-story there, or are you stepping it back?
We're stepping it back.
Right here?
Yes. And if we look at the site plan, it's a little bit clearer where the second floor goes. See, the second floor, where it comes close to the setback, the 20-foot setback is here in this corner, and then it flares in away from the setback. And then this is the on the first floor, this is a covered deck, and then on the second floor, it's open with a trellis over it.
There is a trellis over here?
Yes. This is the side elevation, and then this is the back elevation. So we'll do the columns with the trellis. And then this is a wrought iron.
Okay. Questions from other people?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
The stone on the front entry
The plan or elevation?
in north elevation, how far up does the stone go to the...
Culture stone at...
Oh, I'm sorry. That's we were going to do just the base, but we decided not to. That's why there's no stone on there. So
no stone?
no, we can.
Yeah, put an X on it. And your floor-to-floor, plate-to-plate, you have 8 feet on both floors?
Yes.
And your existing first floor is a raised wood floor?
It's a raised wood floor, 18 inches at the front.
Okay. 3 steps.
And the first step will be project into the front setback, less than 8 inches, and then the next 2 are inside of the building envelope, if you will.
Okay.
And they'll be between these 2 columns. We're going to thicken them so that the stairs are actually between the thickness of the column.
Right. Which is right there.
Yeah. So when you come up, this is in the front setback, about 6 or probably about 10 inches, and then the next step will be between the columns, and then the landing is once you get past the column.
So, are there any other questions for people, or should we go straight to comments? Comments?
Mr. Chair.
Glenn?
Although the FAR is 83% the way it calculates, it still feels large. And a couple of things that I saw that might help, or just some ideas or some thoughts. The entry here seems a little large. The plate height's higher, it's pretty wide, and it's kind of adding to its in-the-face look of the neighborhood. So I think that could all be scaled down a bit and help. The other thing in looking at the existing house, although it does have a 5-pitch on the roof, I don't see how you're going to reuse any of the roof that's there.
But I think that planning was concerned that we increase...
What do we lower it to 3.5 or 4, like a typical Spanish house actually has a lower pitch than 5. And that'll help the massing as well, and also help some of the issues of this.
Maybe staff can speak to that?
Yeah, the board, you can lower.
Okay.
You just cannot increase the height. That would be an increased intensity in the non-conforming
Correct.
aspect.
Okay. So that would be one idea I think I would definitely look at, is lowering the roof pitch to at least 4. That's probably fine. It could go 3.5 or so, but 4. And that would help out a little bit on the massing, I think. In addition to that, the other items that I see that are adding to the mass of it is this back elevation there, where it's although it's not roofed, it's got a trellis on it. It's 2 stories of terrace that aren't calculated into the FAR. So, what's that?
Maybe what we need to do is not have a trellis over it.
I'm just saying that's how it adds up. It's starting to add as a mass back there. And it could be lightened up, it could be partially removed, and those are just some thoughts. In addition to that, the front entry has this pretty large overhang on this front side here. Again, just adding to the ultimate size of it. The other thing that I saw that could use some study is this trellis over the garage. It seems actually pretty small. It could actually be bigger with brackets and be a little bit more enhanced that way. Those are my comments right now.
Mr. Miller.
Based on your photographs, and I know as a board we're supposed to look at mass, bulk, and scale, I feel uncomfortable because it looks like you're introducing a whole new architectural element to this neighborhood. And so I was going to make comments, but I'm a little uncomfortable with this because it doesn't seem compatible with the neighborhood based on those photographs you have. It has to be in the style of the neighborhood, and I just don't see that with this. It looks like you're introducing a whole new kind of element to the neighborhood. So I look forward to seeing those other photographs you have.
I'll do that.
Okay. Anybody else? Denise?
I agree with what's been said thus far. It just seems really the bulk and scale and massing is just too big for the lot, in my opinion. It's a high visibility lot. It's on a corner. It's a little heavy-handed to me in its approach, and again, doesn't feel compatible at all with the neighborhood, in my opinion.
Mr. Zimmerman?
Mr. Chair, what is the depth of your balcony up there? It looks like it's maybe...
It is 10 feet.
Okay, what is that depth there? What is that showing up?
That's this side elevation.
Right. That's this, I believe, is like 4.5 feet, but that's because the garage is obstructing it. Where if you look at this depth from the actual wall, it's 10 feet. This will be the side view to the neighbors, and then this will actually be the view towards the San Rafael.
And then, what kind of roof are you using?
We're using a deck, a steel tile deck, and I'm sorry, the roof. It'll be a 2-piece Spanish style red, standard red. Unless you guys have a...
So it's not going to be Mission tile, or it's not going to be S tile?
No, it'll be Mission, two-piece
Mission
standard red. That's what we envision.
Okay. Anybody else? Aaron?
I think this project has some positive aspects. The Mission tile roof, some of the way the building's massed is okay. There are some areas that could be reduced. The entry in particular, I think, could really come down in scale. The lack of fenestration on the west elevation, the way the two patios are stacked on top of each other kind of gives it a non-residential feel to it, and I don't think it'd be such a bad thing to maybe introduce some stone to this project, and some of the details could use further study, such as the railing. I think could be more Spanish, Santa Barbara. So those are my comments.
Guess I'm last. And a lot of the floor plan, a lot of positive comments because the floor plan works. I mean, the house is small according to square footage. In elevation, it just looks large and it looks blocky. And we all been zeroing in on this one element, and I think it's the width of the front entry, and the width in relationship to the height makes it look extra squatty. And then this trellis element needs to come down, maybe the garage door needs to come up. There's, even though I know that's way, way, way back there, there's just something about the proportions of the forms here that have it blockiness. Reducing the roof pitch is probably going to help. This was the master bathroom. The one thing what I wanted to check with you was this element right here, and this kind of pilaster and this wall are basically the same plane, or it's 2 inches in front. Where here we have the kind of illusion that it's actually going to be more than that. And then we get over to here to where the roof overhang happens, and something's not quite right with that. And then the thickness of these walls, I think, is to your detriment. Even though we're not going to see it, it's 100% in the backyard. And I understand that, but it makes the building look more fortress-like, or it looks more castle-like, which is nice for people. But there's a slenderness here that maybe is, in some respects could be too slender, but then this is a little bit too fat and squatty. So there's a refinement that needs to happen to the three-dimensional form. The floor plan seems to work well. Your plates heights are not excessive. So the house falls into a lot of good positive things, but there's just some refinement that I think needs to happen from what I sense and see.
Mr. Chair, for the applicant's benefit, can we talk about the style and see if the majority of the board members find it appropriate for the neighborhood?
It's a valid discussion to have. Are the board members familiar enough with the Shoreline neighborhood? Or those who are familiar with it should enter into the discussion about the Spanishness of this proposal versus what's currently being built in the area. You want to jump in first?
Well, one of the things, obviously, that Brian hit on right away is the pictures don't show a Spanish house in the neighborhood. So the applicant, has said, I'll show you pictures of the neighborhood. So I think that's an important component of understanding that if we're not that familiar with the neighborhood. So I don't know how to... I'm not sure I'm willing to cast the vote yet.
Okay. You want to add anything? And then I'll go to Aaron.
Well, the Mesa, I consider it more coastal friendly, and I think this could be, if you lowered the pitch and added more character to it, it might be acceptable. But there's just a lot of things about it that it just looks too massive. Especially when you get the red tile on with the steep pitch. There are Spanish homes up there, but they're smaller in scale. So I think if you're going to try to stay with the Spanish, I'd try to scale it down.
Aaron?
I agree with that. I think there's definitely some Spanish buildings, homes on the Mesa. There are a couple not so great examples, though, and I think we want this to be a good example of Spanish architecture working on the Mesa.
I would concur with Aaron. You've got a corner lot here, and this needs to be a showcase house. And even though you're under 85%, we can't force you to do an exceptional architectural design. Your client and the property is worthy of it because it's a corner lot. It's lacking in design and character. I would say the Spanish motif, from my perspective, can work, but it needs more embellishment, and it's more, the words coastal friendly work. And it's a matter of taking pictures of other houses in the area and integrating some of those items. But first understand what the board is saying about the bulkiness of it and the blockiness, and address that. But from my perspective, I think a Spanish house, a Spanish design can work there, but it needs, it can't be heavy-handed.
Yeah, I totally concur. I think what's making me uncomfortable is, yeah, it's kind of overwhelming. Modeled after G.W. Smith homes, that kind of classic 30s, 20s look, I think would look really nice with the beautiful wrought iron railing. I mean, really add some nice touches to it. It might work.
Denise and then Glenn.
I just wanted to bring to the board's attention, too, that when you look on the site plan, it's flanked by one-story bungalows, this lot.
We forgot to look at that.
You know, I mean, that should be a big part of our decision here. I know it's an area in transition. I remember when I first came to Santa Barbara, I was absolutely stymied as to why these little one-story bungalows were in what I considered to be the best real estate in Santa Barbara right by the sea. And so I knew at some point it was going to transition, but it has to be a careful transition. You know, there has to be sensitivity to these people that are living there for years, and, you know, this will be a real view buster for the person behind them.
Well, you go, Glenn.
Just a comment. I think it's going to be important. A lot of Spanish and Mediterranean houses, it's really, really important how the landscaping grows with the house and goes adjacent to the house. So I think if you're going to go with a house that's this large, we need to show some landscaping, a whole landscaping plan.
Mr. Chair, that brings to mind, what are the rules about, if I may ask staff or anyone here, you architects will know, this is really a brand new rebuild, in my opinion. I mean, you're saving 4 windows on one side. Just, I don't know. What's the criteria for calling it a remodel as opposed to just a rip down and start over? If you save one wall, then it's called a remodel, or what's the ruling on that?
We as a board can say that a full landscape plan is necessary due to the scope of work of the project. And if we think one is necessary, if it's a small second-story addition and it's over an existing structure, then we don't think it's going to impact the existing landscaping. But we all have done this enough that we realize that basically 3/4 of the house is going to get scraped, the landscaping is going to get ruined in the process. So a complete landscaping plan would be beneficial.
Yeah, it's a brand new house.
It's a brand new house. To follow up on what Denise was saying about the one-story elements, the one-story neighbors, and I didn't pick up on that. And the reason why there's so many people here is we see different things with our eyes. This element here, this 2-story element, are stacked walls, both over the garage, the side, and the rear. And this side, you pull back the second-story element because of the 30-foot setback. In the old NPO days, your second floor had to be 1.5 times the setback. So if it was 6 here, it'd be 9 here. And so people didn't like that wedding cake look, but it actually helps people when you go straight up and down on the side property line. So looking at your actual floor plan on the upper floor, this is 10 foot 10, this is 10 foot 10. If this was to slide in a little bit more, or maybe slide these in but leave this here, there's a way that perhaps there is something that you can slide these elements over on the second floor. What that does to your architecture is this north view, even though that is so far back, and I know it's so far back, but it's just really strong and dominant. So pulling this back actually might enhance the architecture and bringing down this trellis. So, and then you introduce some type of roof element here that will help this elevation. So it was a great point of Denise's to talk about the adjacent one-story elements, neighbors, and how this is going to impact them. Any other comments? This is good discussion. If not, let's roll it into a comment and go home.
Getting hungry.
I get to appoint somebody if no one makes a motion. Actually, Glenn's writing notes.
Okay. I'd like to make a motion for indefinite continuance for the applicant to study reducing the mass of the project. Yes, and we discussed some of those ways of doing that, but lowering the roof pitch, studying the detailing of the stacked terraces in the back. Study the entry for scale. Providing a full landscape plan. And introducing even more traditional details for trellises and wrought iron and that sort of thing. But the main comment is reducing mass, the apparent mass of the building.
Is there someone who wants to second that?
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion about the motion? I was wondering if it's all right with Glenn if we got rid of the word study and just instructed the applicant to reduce the either the massiveness or the bulkiness of the project. Okay. And then under discussion, he listed several items: the double stack porch, the width of the front entry, as areas to look at. If you can also add a second floor setback off the west elevation.
Mr. Chair, actually, I purposely didn't do that because I think there's other solutions besides moving it back that might break up the scale. That's the only reason why I didn't.
Perfect.
And if you're only bringing it back 12 or 18 inches and you have a little tiny roof that wraps around, I don't think that architecturally is a very good solution.
Perfect. And then pictures. Mr. Miller was wanting some pictures.
Spanish homes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Any other discussion about the motion that's on the table? If not, I'll call for a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Indefinite continuance back to full board.
Thank you very much.
And have yourself a great night.
You too.
And with that, October 25th, we are done with the Single Family Design Board.